Okay, boom, boom. Exit. All right, we are live on Tony Tong TV. It is the uh, today is Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. You guys are tuned into Tony Tong TV, my official YouTube channel where I talk about my life, my daily and times, interesting things that's going on in the news, whatever. So welcome to the page. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, make sure you like and subscribe our page. Cause man, it's cool over here, man. You're gonna love it over here. So like and subscribe to our page because I live a very interesting life as an entrepreneur, content creator, podcaster, and now we're just making our transition into streaming. So I appreciate all of the likes and the subscribers that are coming onto the platform. Thank you to everybody who's checking in. What's going on to everybody in the chat? Yes, it is Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. Guys, if you follow me on social media, I travel a lot. I got the tattoo shop. I do gold teeth. I transport dogs as well. I'm an avid dog lover and breeder. Shout out to the team and the squad, man. We have a lot of big things going on. But this past weekend, I went to in the matter of like 3 days, I went to 7 different cities. So because Valdosta doesn't have a major airport, I'm usually flying out of either Atlanta or Jacksonville. So we flew out of Jacksonville. What's the first one that I had to do? Let me think into my itinerary. Jacksonville. Oh, I had to go to Spokane and pick up a Aussie Doodle. So for y'all that don't know, a Aussie Doodle is like a mixture between a Australian Shepherd and a Poodle, right? So they do get a little bit bigger, hypoallergenic. They don't really shed a lot. So I flew all the way to Spokane, Washington, which was like right there above in Washington State. I know that's above California, but below Canada. Yeah, Canada. So the weather was pretty cool. The layover was in Phoenix, I believe. So it wasn't a straight shot. Went from Jacksonville to Phoenix. And bro, that flight was so long. It was like 4 hours and some change. So, I thugged it out a little bit, got some rest, just went to sleep. I usually watch, I either go to sleep or I try to edit videos. Very seldom watch TV, but it just depends on how long I'm in the air. And I was in the air 4.5 hours just to get to Phoenix. We did a light layover. Then I went to Spokane. Spokane is such a small airport that I wasn't able to get out in the same day because I got there at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. The last flights that were leaving out of Spokane was at 2. So here I am stuck in Spokane. It's hot as hell. It's got to be at least like, 98 degrees when I get there. So it was pretty warm. So I'm looking at rooms, right? And I'm trying to get the most budget-friendly room. And I'm always getting rooms that are close to the airport. So in the case I just have to get on a shuttle or something like that, or I don't get a room, I could just get on the shuttle, or they have, some airport transportation. So I'm usually getting a room that's in the close proximity to the airport. And I picked this room and it looked beautiful. It looked modern. It looked really, really well put together. And I was just trying to get the best room at the best price. And I picked this room called Cambria. It was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It was nice. I liked the setup of the room, but it did not have a pool. And that frustrated me, right? Because I was kind of like up in the air on if I was going to actually like get out in the city and do something. But worst case scenario, I would have sat there because they did have a restaurant and a bar in this hotel, but they didn't have a pool, and I really just want to sit at the pool and soak and just, do backstrokes or whatever. So I had to stay. I guess because of the lack of pool, that wasn't the best experience. And I had to take this dog all the way to Cleveland. So my layover, I believe, was either in Dallas or Chicago. It might have been Phoenix again. I have to double check. But by the time that I get there to Cleveland, I get there the next day. I'm there probably like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, make the handoff. They love the dog, of course. They've been waiting on this dog. So I'm in Cleveland and I'm trying to get a room, and I guess in the better side of town, still in the close proximity to the airport so I can fly out if I need to. And I just remember all I could think about is like, I heard this throughout my whole childhood and I just really have to see what it looks like. And my whole childhood, I heard of East 1999 and St. Clair throughout my whole childhood. And I was so moved to go see this street. And for y'all that don't know, or if y'all didn't come from that time, Bone Thugs and Harmony, one of my favorite groups as a child and as a teenager. They were from Cleveland, East 1999 Eternal, if y'all remember that. St. Clair, that's what they talked about. That's where they were from. So, you know, it's kind of like I want to go through and see it and see what it looks like. But anyway, I didn't do that because I didn't get a rental. So I ended up catching an Uber downtown. I usually get on ChatGPT and ask it for like an itinerary. What could I do in the least amount of time on a certain type of budget? And it told me to go downtown. I went downtown. It was a cool little vibe. I went to this restaurant called I'm gonna tell you. I don't want to get it wrong for anybody who might be watching it for their Zanzibar. So Zanzibar was the restaurant that I went to. I actually went to this other place called Aprons and Turntables, but it was closed. And I went there because they said that they had a live DJ, but it was closed. So I ended up going to this spot called Zanzibar. Cajun Creole style cooking downtown. It definitely looked like it was black owned. I enjoyed the atmosphere. It was cool. I started having conversations with some of the staff that worked there, and I ended up finding out that one of the owners of Zanzibar used to be a part owner of Fin and Feathers in Cleveland before it closed down. And for y'all that don't know, Fin and Feathers is a restaurant lounge that plays live music, has DJs, but also has pretty good food. So it's more of a lounge setting. They have hookahs and stuff like that. There's like 6 or 7 of them. Most of them are in Atlanta, but they have one in Valdosta, my home city, and I managed and invested in that particular location, and I worked that project for about 2 years before I got out of it. So it was interesting to just kind of talk to some of the people that were in Zanzibar and kind of hearing their accounts of what Fin and Feathers Cincinnati was like, because the only one outside of Atlanta that I've been to is Vegas. Vegas Fin and Feathers is pretty cool. Definitely check those guys out if you're ever in Vegas. So that was a cool trip. Then I had to do another pickup. What was the other dog? It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm gonna get it right in just a minute. Oh, and the Aussie Doodle pissed in my bed. So I wasn't really happy about that. I was frustrated with that dog the whole time after that. And the next one, I had to, so I went from Cleveland, did that drop off, stayed the night, caught a flight from Cleveland to Miami to pick up a Alaskan clay, which is kind of like a miniature husky. And I had to take that dog all the way to Seattle. So that layover was in Phoenix as well. Got to Seattle, did the drop off. I didn't even get a room there. I caught a red line right back. So I was able to, in one day now, I went from Cleveland to Miami, from Miami to Seattle, and then I was able to get there in time enough to catch a red line from Seattle back to the East Coast. And that flight was probably like 6 hours. So yeah, I went through like 7 major cities in the course of 3 days, guys. So if y'all don't follow my other personal pages, Tony Tong on Facebook, Urban Demand on Instagram. Also, I got Travel with Tony on Instagram and YouTube as well. So you'll be able to see things that I do as well. But I post a lot of it on my personal stories. So if y'all just want to stay in the loop of the entrepreneurship, the traveling, the dogs, the tattoos, the gold teeth, just follow those pages. Big shout out to everybody in the chat who's tapping in right now. But yeah, follow those pages. But I have another transport coming up this weekend. I'll fill y'all in more on that. And I'm going to get in the habit of actually going live every day so that we can build up the followers, we can build up the content. And hopefully what I'll be doing is when I'm on these trips, I'll actually be going live while I'm there. So y'all will be able to take advantage of being there while I'm experiencing some of these places for the first time as well. So make sure that y'all tune into my other spots and my other pages. Make sure you tune into the Man Cave Memoirs. That's our other podcast with my co-host Brandon Tillman, aka Brandon LeBaron. Big shout out to him. Make sure you follow him on all social media platforms as well, along with the Man Cave Memoirs page. We're going to get really, really active on that as well. We just recently had an episode where we interviewed a guy named Mayan, and he's from Valdosta, got into content creation. Before the age of 18, he had 250,000 subscribers on YouTube, like 1 million on TikTok, another 250 on Instagram. So, you know, he's actually, you know, one of the guys who inspire us to be as consistent as we are in the terms of going streaming and things of that nature. So go to the Man Cave Memoirs page as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow that page. And the most recent episode was where we interviewed Mayan boy on YouTube and Instagram. Make sure you go follow him out. He's doing big things as well. But without further ado, I got a lot to talk about. I haven't been on here in about a week since before all those trips. So there's a lot of things that I do kind of want to touch on. The first thing is the Dookie beaches in Miami. Did y'all hear about that? The Dookie beaches? Okay, so let me see. Okay. Dookie beaches. So several Miami area beaches were under water quarantine advisories because the bacteria that was in the water can be associated with fecal contamination. So this happened July 10th. Florida health officials advised people to avoid swimming at the Golden Beach, the Bark Beach near 79th Street, and North Shore Ocean Terrace near 73rd. And Miami Beach identified the affected stretch as roughly 72nd through the 80th streets. Now, testing found elevated Enterococcus bacteria, which normally lives inside of the intestinal systems of humans and animals. So high levels can signal contamination from like sewage or stormwater, runoffs, pets, wildlife, things of that nature. Here's the important distinction. Officials have not announced that all the Miami beaches were filled with raw sewage, and the test does not automatically identify the exact source. What we do know is that if you swallow this contaminated water, expose it to a cut, it can cause illnesses, stomach viruses, rashes, and infection. So that was something that was in the news. Doo-doo beaches in Miami. Another interesting thing that I seen was sandstorms in Coney Island. You normally don't see that, right? So on July 3rd, powerful winds swept across Coney Island and Brighton Beach, lifting huge amounts of sand into the air, and is visibly like knocking over tables, umbrellas. You see people like getting pushed over by the wind. And if you look at it, it just looks like something from like an apocalyptic movie, man. It's not nothing that you would normally see in New York City. So of course, social media went crazy. People are talking about hard cloud seeding, weather interference, and you know, other different type of theories of what could have caused this. And I'm not disproving anything, man. We do know that they can play with the weather and they can do things like cloud seeding. We do know that they do have manipulative tools to help control the weather. So, you know, was this a natural occurrence or was this another test or experiment? We do not know. What we do know was absolutely terrifying for anybody who was involved or on Coney Island at that time. The next thing we're going to talk about is the death of Lindsey Graham. And if Russia had something to do with this, because this is a speculation that is all over the internet right now. So the sudden death of Senator Lindsey Graham has produced almost every conspiracy theory possible. Graham died on July 2nd, and he was like 71 years old, shortly after returning from Ukraine. He had met with President Zelensky, toured a Ukrainian drone facility, and promoted tougher sanctions against Russia. The timing made people really suspicious, though, especially after Post claimed that the drone facility, as well as the hotel that he was staying at, along with some other top NATO officials, was bombed and destroyed within the same 48 to 72 hours that you were staying there. So a lot of people are speculating that he was actually killed in one of these strikes. And that the story that we got was not the official story. Now, there's no preliminary medical findings that said anything other than an aortic dissection, which is a tear in the main artery. It's associated with hardened arteries. So this is the story that they gave us, the government story. But a lot of people do not know if it's true. Although Graham toured a sensitive drone facility, reliable reporting does not establish that he was inside the base when Russia destroyed it, or the hotel when it was destroyed. So I don't know, man. It's very interesting, but there's just a lot of interesting things that's going on. Like, I advise everybody to question everything, because once I realized we were being lied to about everything from politics to history, and when you catch them in a lie, it's like you just gotta question everything, bro. And I question everything from religion to science to, I mean, you name it. I question it all. Now, Norway is using its influence in the international football arena to push for sanctions against Israel. The Norwegian Football Federation president, Lisa Klaveness, argues that FIFA and UEFA cannot claim to enforce human rights principles while treating Israel differently from Russia, which was suspended after invading Ukraine. So basically what happened in FIFA is that they suspended Russia for invading Ukraine, but it's like, okay, why aren't we suspending Israel for what it's doing in Gaza? So the controversy intensified around Norway's World Cup qualifier against Israel. Norway chose not to boycott because if they did, that forfeit would have awarded Israel victory and actually improved Israel's qualifications chances. Instead, Norway played the match and beat Israel 5-0. The Norwegian Federation also pledged to match profits to Doctors Without Borders for humanitarian work in Gaza. In addition, 3 million Norwegian kroner, then worth $305,000, was reportedly pledged by a private company. So they donated a lot of money to the people that's in Gaza, to the Palestinians. So, the Palestinians. So they're really showing, if you get out of, especially Americans, if you get out of what's just going on in American news, you'll really see the political landscape and how people are supporting different sides of this. But a lot of people in the world are supporting the Palestinians, man. But moving on, this is an interesting theory. Is Donald Trump a time traveler? That's a good question. Is Donald Trump a time traveler? Or did a writer from the 1800s just create one of the biggest coincidences in modern day history? There was a guy named Ingersoll Lockwood. He published a book about a wealthy young adventurer named Baron Trump. And this book was written in 1889 and 1893, more than a century before Donald Trump became president. The fictional Baron is a privileged boy who lives in Castle Trump, travels with his dog, and follows instructions left by a mysterious mentor. A mysterious mentor named Don. His adventures takes him to Russia, where he searches for an entrance to a hidden underground civilization, a world within a world. Lockwood published another novel in 1896 called The Last President. It describes New York erupting in unrest after the shocking election of a populist political outsider. Conspiracy theorists point to the name Baron Donald Trump's son, Barron Castle Trump, Fifth Avenue, and the mentor being named Don, and Russell connection to the political chaos. So some theories even involve Trump uncle. Okay, let me start this over again. Conspiracy theorists point to the name Barron, Donald Trump's son Barron, Castle Trump, Fifth Avenue, the mentor named Don, and the Russian connection and the political chaos. Some theories have even involved Trump's uncle, and this is a true documentation. John Trump, who examined Nikola Tesla's paper after he died, said that there was no evidence of time traveling or that he found anything, but he was the guy who actually searched Nikola Tesla's things after he died. So y'all can do your own research on that. Either way, the rabbit hole runs really, really deep. So deep you might need an elevator. Another topic that I want to hit on, being from Valdosta, Georgia, is, what's really happening inside of the Valdosta State prison. Shout out to everybody tapping in on the live. So recently there was a viral video of recorded inside of Valdosta State Prison, shows an inmate standing in a flooded cell. Many viewers call it inhumane. Some people argue that prisoners who commit serious crimes should not expect comfort. Others point out that incarceration is punishment, not exposure to sewage or violence or medical neglect or anything like that. But I guess the video is still, it requires independent, confirmation. So there's a video in there. It's showing inhumane circumstances, living arrangements and stuff like that. And, it's sad that they're living in those particular environments, but it is known that, inmates will flood their own cells. So I've seen a lot of people talking about that. And, if we want to be real, man, like Valdosta State Prison is a level 5 camp. It's going down all the time. This is like the worst of the worst people who's there for like murders, rapes, who might not ever be going home. So there's been so many murders and stabbings and things like that over, the course of the past 10 or 15 years. It's just like, man, there's always something going on. And a lot of that comes from being underfunded and not having enough people to facilitate the prison. So that's another thing that is causing a lot of problems there too. So let me see what else is going on in the news. Oh yeah, Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested in Miami. This might be their biggest legal battle yet. British prosecutors are seeking their extradition on a combined 59 charges, including 7 alleged victims. The accusations reportedly include rape, assault, sexual trafficking, and other serious offenses allegedly committed between 2010 and 2017. Of course, the brothers deny everything. Their attorneys describe the case as politically motivated, while Andrew Tate supporters call it another Matrix attack. This is designed to silence one of the internet's loudest anti-establishment voices. But one viral claim needs correction. These 59 charges have not all been tried before and rejected. The Tates have faced separate investigations, lawsuits, and proceedings in Romania and Britain, but these current British charges still have not been tested in court. The extradition hearing will not decide whether they are guilty. It will decide whether Britain has met the legal standards of getting these men extradited back for legal prosecution. So, are they dangerous predators or controversial men being targeted because of their influence? Right now, both conclusions go beyond the evidence. Their popularity does not prove their innocence, and serious allegations do not prove guilt. I do believe that when you have a big enough platform and you have a big enough following, that if you go against the status quo, it is not necessarily in the best interest of the powers that be. And there are certain mechanisms that will be put in place to ensure that you do not have the level of influence that you once had, and that they can curb social opinion. And if that means silencing people, I mean, we've seen it happen time and time again when people speak out against the establishment. So we'll see what goes on in court. I don't know myself. I am a Top G fan. I definitely appreciate it, KPE. You know, we'll see. Like, I'm a Andrew Tate fan. I'm a Tristan Tate fan. If they're guilty of criminal activity, they should be punished. But I do understand that these guys have been a target for the establishment for a long time, just because of the masculine message that they have for military-aged men these days. So, you know, that's that. Moving on. Let's see. So, flock safety cameras and the growing resistance that people are having for the flock safety cameras. So, flock safety was founded in 2017, and a lot of people have fears about this eye in the sky, this Big Brother program, and this database that these cameras are all locked into. And the flock company was actually created in Atlanta. So, in this Atlanta-based company, they have over 80,000 cameras. They're spread across 49 different states, and they're just getting a lot of resistance, not only in town hall meetings, but with vigilantes who are, you know, defacing the flock cameras, cutting them down. And, you know, I think that we're just in a scary place when you start having AI and just this eye in the sky. I mean, they talked about it in all the movies that we grew up on, and now it's just becoming a reality. Now, that company, Flock's valuation is $8 and they're just getting a lot of pushback. But not even just the pushback, the misuse of the cameras, right? It's become a problem. In July 2026, Albany fired 5 officers. Fayetteville fired 3. And additional officers or deputies in Georgia were fired, disciplined, or arrested. And the number has went to like 10 different officers who misused the plate reading technology. So, yeah, man, supporters point out stolen car recoveries and criminal investigations, but critics like myself point out to false alerts, wrongful stops, tracking without suspicion, immigration searches, and officers using the system to monitor romantic partners or acquaintances and things of that nature. So you got Americans who are, you know, turning up. They don't want to see the flock cameras. So what else do we got? OG Bigger Rankin. OG Bigger Rankin is probably one of the biggest DJs in the Southern Circuit. He recently passed away. He was very instrumental in the launching of TIG, Think It's a Game, which is responsible for artists like Lucci and Rich Homie Quan, just to name a few. He did multiple mixtapes for up-and-coming artists. So, you know, his real name was Billy Plummer, and he died at the age of 50. There's no official cause of death, which has not been publicly announced, but speculation is that it might have been a car accident or something like that. So, oh man, he was deeply connected with Jacksonville, known in the community for his advocacy and not just entertainment. Today, artists can upload a song and hope an algorithm finds it, but Bigger Rankin was the algorithm before the algorithm. So, rest in peace to Bigger Rankin. Much condolences to his family. Let me see. I like this one. This is a good one. Could New York's mayor really arrest Netanyahu? So, New York City's mayor, Zoran Mamdani, he's under fire by saying that he wanted to explore if it was possible for him to arrest the Israeli Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, during his visit to New York. So, Mamdani calls Netanyahu a war criminal, and he says he belongs in The Hague. The controversy traces back to November 21st, 2024, when the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant accusing Netanyahu of alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity connected with Gaza. So Bibi the bomber, Bibi Netanyahu, and Israel reject the accusations and say the court has no legitimate jurisdiction. Now, here's where the viral conversation gets confused. This is an ICC criminal warrant against an individual, not the separate ICG genocide case against the state of Israel. So the ICC has 125 member countries, which are generally expected to cooperate with its warrants. That potentially creates travel risks for Netanyahu across much of Europe, Africa, and even Latin America. But enforcement is not guaranteed. The United States is not an ICC member, so foreign policy belongs mainly to the federal government. And the United Nations visits may bring additional immunity protections. President Trump has already said that Netanyahu would not be arrested when he comes to the United States. So, Mamdani's supporters, they see courage and accountability, while his critics see political theater that exceeds a mayor's authority. So the real test is not what Mamdani wants to do, it's whether New York law, federal authority, and international obligations really give him a legal path to do any of that. But it's commendable, when multiple countries have said that you are, I guess, guilty of war crimes, and we're the only ones that, ain't riding that particular narrative. I mean, you got to call it what it is, man. You got to call it what it is. So those were the topics that I really wanted to talk about. I want y'all to make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe to this page. Also, the Travel with Tony page. We do a lot of content when we're traveling around the country. Up next week, I got to go to Myrtle Beach and pick up a Chinese crested dog, AKA a hairless Chihuahua. And I got to take this dog to Minneapolis. And if y'all have never seen this type of dog, if you've ever watched Deadpool, the ugly ass dog with the tongue hanging out his mouth, that is a hairless Chihuahua. So this is going to be my first time seeing one in person, not on the movie. So that's going to be interesting. I'll keep y'all in tune. Hopefully I'll be able to go live from an airport or something like that and let y'all know what's going on. So what I want to do is give y'all an advice of the day before we get up out of here. It's about perseverance. Keep building before they believe. Every major vision looks unrealistic before somebody has the courage to make it real. People may doubt you because they can only see where you are, not what you see in your mind. So that is why belief has to come before the evidence. There will be slow season, failed attempts, and moments when ambition feels more like a burden than a gift. But keep moving anyway. Persevering does not mean you never get tired. It means that being tired does not get the final vote in your life. You do not need everybody to understand the mission. You need discipline strong enough to continue when the applause disappears. The dream was given to you because you have the capacity to carry it. So stay ambitious, stay consistent, keep building, and eventually the same people who question the vision will call it inevitable. And they'll say they were a fan the whole time. So stick and stay tuned with your vision, regardless if other people see it. Keep putting in the work, compound growth. Every little bit counts, man, and you'll get to where you need to be. So until next time, we're going to tune back in tomorrow. We're going to try to keep these around 8:30-ish. So an hour worth of live streaming each and every day while we build up the audience. Thank you for everybody who tapped in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the page. Until next time, don't forget to be great on purpose. Oh. Y'all bear with me, man. This is my first time doing this.